Being alone was unbearable. My feet drummed a rhythm on the floor, urging me to dart off and run ahead, not necessarily following a particular direction, but leaving all the excruciating worries and anxiety behind me. Each step is valuable in itself, bringing you further from the problems that have to run to get you. It's an eternal race, tip to heel, heel to tip. If you don't stop, they'll never catch you. Except that you can run as long as you want and will never completely escape real life. The more distance I was putting between myself and the house, the closer I was getting to the endgame. Sooner or later I would learn what happened to Catherine. And even if I wouldn't, the pain would gradually die down. It's one or the other, right? It was already past 9 o'clock when I found myself in the city center, in the district of shining skyscrapers in which modern shoguns resided as if in impenetrable castles. Ooh, Irina did say Japanese. Did she say Japanese intelligence specifically? She said that the people who took her were Japanese. Didn't she say, was it her or was it Nikolai that said, no, I think it was her, that said they could have possibly been kidnapped for a ransom by Yakuza, right? So, like, she doesn't know exactly what branch of Japanese they are. Japanese intelligence, or, we're in the city center, Kobayashi Corp. Kobayashi Jun, that of Kobayashi Corporation, was probably also somewhere up there, looking down at the pitiful people on the streets. Feeling I could just get up into his penthouse floating in the skies and tell him everything I've had on my mind these last weeks. Although it was possible he personally didn't know everything that happened to me and the people I knew. I doubt that. Corporations, albeit resembling a complicated organism, often act like a group of symbionts more than anything. Symbionts? Symbionts. What did almighty Kobayashi Jun care about the destiny of Soviet engineers, the life of a simple American girl, or a regular student? A lot more than you'd think. But apparently somebody did care about me. For the last few hours, I've ceaselessly felt someone's eyes on me. I was constantly looking over my shoulder, trying to shake the tail, but it was all useless. In the end, it started to feel like I had a huge parasite on my back, which had sunk its teeth firmly into my body and was sucking at my internal organs like a xenomorph whose only purpose was to grow a new creature inside of me. The stalker, or stalkers, didn't allow for any mistakes. I was weaving in and out of streets, hiding in stores, quickening my step, and dragging myself at a snail's pace. Had the paranoia finally gotten to me? The sensation was probably like that a mouse feels dissected under the dead light of lab lamps. In the end, I got tired of it and just sat on the bench in front of the main Kobayashi Corporation building, crossed my arms and legs, and began to wait. Not for something in particular, rather just demonstrating, here I am. If you need me, come and get me. Naturally, nobody appeared, not for 5 minutes, nor half an hour. The autumn wind blew right through my jacket and I shuddered. In the beginning, I was determined to sit here until morning if I needed to, but now I felt as if the temperature had instantly dropped by a good 10 degrees. It's interesting how summer nights are always brighter than autumn ones. It was probably tied to the inclination of the orbit, Earth's rotation around the sun, and other celestial mechanics. Sometimes I envied people who knew enough to understand the way our world works. Especially when reading science fiction novels. The physics of the world on a micro level, the nature of interaction between different celestial objects, gravity, the speed of light, and black holes. For me, like the majority of the population, absolutely nothing had changed over thousands of years. Everything around us was still made of aether. As Clark used to say, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So what difference does it make what you believe in, Zeus or string theory, if you understand absolutely nothing about either? My father did understand, though. I didn't know if he was a genius, but I could say for sure that nature had skipped a generation with his child. Weirdly, at moments like this, I can never fully feel insignificance on the backdrop of the universe. All that humanly incomprehensible machinery was there, and I was here. Questions on the world's design are interesting, but they didn't affect my problems here and now in almost any way. Planck's constant couldn't help me find Catherine. Newton's third law didn't impact the interest special forces had in me. Himmel's actions weren't guided by Kolmogorov's charts. We all obey the rules of nature and at the same time remain unaware of them. The same way an ant crawls into a box of cookies, not knowing that the owner of the pantry had a rough day at work and intends on snacking on something sweet while, without even realizing it, crushing him to death. Perhaps soon an asteroid the size of Tokyo, without even thinking about it in just the same way, would soon wipe out all life from a small planet at the edge of a tiny galaxy in the cupboard of the endless universe. But it wouldn't be today. I had no strength to keep sitting in place. The cold made my head ache, and my thoughts returned from the celestial spheres to the sinful earth, back to the problems they had left behind just prior. I guess I exhausted myself enough that I couldn't really keep functioning effectively without rest. On the way back, the xenomorph seemed to finally get off my back and go look for another carrier. No longer felt like I was being followed. Home met me with an autumn dampness that seemed to crawl under my skin, made me extremely uncomfortable. I had to turn on the heater and wait for a very long half an hour before the room finally warmed up. Yesterday's groceries watched me from the table with mute reproach. I began sorting them out, secretly hoping to find a new galaxy in a pantry, one I could escape to from my problems. The phone's ringing broke the silence. I froze in place with a pack of ramen in my hands. Hello? Sounds on the other end seemed to have come from bottomless emptiness of the cosmos. Beyond the walls of my house was vacuum. Vacuum all over. Somebody was calling me from a black hole whose event horizon no sound could escape. You know what? How about you go? I didn't care what it was. I was sure they just wanted to make me aggravated. The receiver hit the cradle with a characteristic clank. What if they cared that we were, in reality, flying on a piece of rock through the cosmic void at a speed of 100 kilometers per second? Do normal people ever think about that, or was I the only schizo here? A nasty rain started to drizzle outside. Well, you don't even notice unless you look out the window. Rain also helps you sleep. Perhaps the sound of raindrops pushes all the disturbing thoughts out of your head. I threw myself into the warm embrace of the bed and soon forgot about the dampness and Earth's movement through the universe. Tomorrow was a new day and would definitely bring with it new troubles. I had to meet them ready and rested. Okay. But that phone call was something important. I almost have a feeling that was Catherine that called. I was dreaming about flying through space. Just flying. Flying freely like a wind. Faster and faster, waving to the passing planets and winking at galaxies. I was flying like a pulsar, having become vestigial radiation, flying towards the unknown. I never managed to get too far. In the morning, I woke up in my bed again. Despite things looking up yesterday, now I was in a foul mood, something that became clear from the very first seconds of the new day. I didn't want to do anything, not even get up. I was willing to let life take its course without me, while I would lie and sleep. I'd been tossing and turning for a good hour, drowning in self-pity when somebody knocked on the door. First quietly, almost at the edge of hearing, as if it were just my imagination. Then the knocking became louder. It was even a little exciting. At least something was happening. Quickly put on some clothes and opened the door. Yeah, I figured since it started out like soft, that it was probably her. Amos was staying on the doorstep with bags in her hands. Why are you knocking when there's a doorbell? I grumbled, annoyed.
Dunno. I just wanted to.
She looked like everything was fine between us. At least she was trying to. Why are you here?
Nico-kun, you probably don't have any food at home.
She lifted the bags demonstratively. Dropped by a grocery store a couple days ago.
Ah.
She drawled and lowered her head. You can cook something.
Can I?
Amos' face brightened. I don't really know why I said that. Maybe because all the time alone inside my head was making me start to lose it. Any company would be better than my own thoughts. Besides, yesterday's talk with Ito had made me think. Nothing could be done about what she'd said to Catherine and I, but the rest, her motives, actions, what she knew about her father, might have been totally different from what I'd thought. Amos has been working away at a grand meal for half an hour already. The kitchen was filled with aromas of all kinds, the knife flashing through the air with inhuman speed. Something was boiling, hissing, and sizzling on the stove. For a while I just sat behind the table and quietly watched her cook. Finally the insincerity of the scene became unbearable. I talked with your father yesterday.
I know.
Amos responded, still focused on cooking. What you said back then. Whatever the case, don't think that'll just stay in the past. She showed no reaction to my words. You shouldn't have behaved like that, even if you had your own reasons. Silence again. It was mean and disgusting. You were just taking revenge. No, not even revenge. It was like mocking a cripple. Of course I don't mean that. I sighed and collected my thoughts. There's some things you can't tell others even if they're true. Truth and facts aren't the same thing. Many Americans suffer from PTSD after Vietnam. That's true. At the same time, the Americans burned an awful lot of people there with napalm. That's also true. But tens of thousands of victims? That's a fact. In the end, everyone has their own truth. The facts are the same for everyone.
Nico-kun, why are you saying this to me?
Amos asked warily, finally throwing the last bits of vegetables in the pot. To be honest, I already forgot.
Do you really think I'm capable of hurting you?
I don't know how capable you are, but you've certainly said enough. I don't want to bring up the topic of Catherine's disappearance. In this context, it would only make Himitsu look more guilty. Of course, we'd talk about it in due time, but I didn't want that to be now.
Breakfast will be served in 10 minutes.
She proclaimed like a lunch lady serving food in a school canteen. I think food can fix this situation.
Need to eat anyway.
She responded in a gloomy tone. In a very feminine or even maternal way, you could say. Sure. Himitsu really put in the effort. No matter how bad my mood was, a feast fit for a king lifts your spirits regardless of the circumstances. That's how human physiology works. I was contentedly picking my teeth with a toothpick that had somehow appeared on the table, and was looking at Himitsu in the way people look at the appearance of Christ before the Pope, failing to grasp the entire picture, but noticing new details every time as their gaze shifts around the painting.
Was it good?
She finally broke the silence. Yes. Is there a chance it wouldn't be?
What are you going to do today?
Why? Do you have something in mind?
No, I just asked. Maybe I had some plans with Caddy-chan.
Himitsu seemingly didn't intend to hurt me when she said it, but I got all wound up anyway. So you're feeding me like a pig for slaughter? Main course comes after the meal, is that it?
I didn't mean...
Catherine's been kidnapped for your information. Or maybe you already know. Maybe your father had a hand in it. Then it'd be your fault with your reports.
Nico-kun?
Jesus, like we're in the 30s. You share bread with someone in the morning, then by evening he's written about to you in the Cheka.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
That's right, you don't. Next thing you'll be telling the same to his wife and children, and then behind their backs say that he was such a good man. Who could think he was an anti-Soviet?
Nico-kun.
So you know, honestly, I have neither the mood nor desire to talk to you. Whether you're guilty or not, will you help me find Catherine? Himitsu didn't respond, just lowered her head and even seemed to shrink. That's what I thought.
May I wash the dishes?
She asked timidly. May you? I laughed. Do you need special permission? I waved towards the sink. Be my guest. Himitsu stood up obediently and collected the dishes. Surprising how different her behavior was from what she had showed a couple of days ago. Had she run out of steam? Had the Catherine problem been resolved? No matter what, it didn't make Himitsu more attractive in my eyes. You're damn right it doesn't. After all, we weren't 50 years old. The fire of love needed to burn, not smolder like an aroma candle on a windowsill. I have more important things to do. I walked out to the hall, put on my jacket, stuffed the wallet in my pocket, and grabbed the keys from the stand. Close the door when you leave. This time my conscience was quiet. She deserved it. On the other hand, somehow my resentment towards Himitsu had dissipated. It's probably the worst possible feeling. You don't feel angry with a person. You simply don't care anymore. But I also couldn't just neglect her. Bad parents are still parents. Himitsu was still Himitsu, and if she kind of lost it. Ah, hey Phoenix. I was walking down the streets of Sunday Tokyo that were clad in the bright colors of autumn sails, and desperately gasping for air. I had definitely eaten too much. So, to sum it up, Catherine's mother knew nothing of Catherine, Irina knew nothing of Catherine, Ito knew nothing of Catherine. Maybe Catherine had never existed in the first place, and I just made her up. And though I was kind of ready to believe the KGB and Japanese intelligence, the CIA, or rather Cheryl Winters herself, had none of my trust. She had behaved too weirdly yesterday, so I decided to finally get the truth from Catherine's mother. Round 3, baby. The third time's a charm, my guy. I'm sure you got it this time. Fucking idiot. The street in front of our house was unusually empty, especially for a Sunday. The sun was shining brightly, ready to give its warmth to everyone who needed it, not demanding anything in return. Didn't look like there were many takers, though. Maybe they'd all gone to the countryside, or walking in parks, or sitting in dark movie theaters. Anyway, I had more important matters to think about than other people's plans for the weekend. I rang the doorbell, and had to wait for a while for a reply. Finally, a sleepy voice responded. Who's there? Mrs. Winters, it's me, Nikolai. Pause followed, as if she were trying to recall who I was. Cat up here. Finally, a distinctive signal sounded and the door opened. When I entered the apartment, Catherine's mother was already dolled up, even seemingly wearing makeup. Very good of you to drop by, she said as if she'd been waiting for me. Really? I felt like our talk yesterday didn't end well. I guess, but as promised, I managed to learn something. You'd better sit down. Those words made my entire body tense. Catherine? She's fine, she smiled and continued. Although what I'm about to tell you may sound shocking, it's the truth. Cheryl Winters looked unusually serious. Catherine wasn't kidnapped. She returned to the U.S. to her grandmother. Her words sounded too casual, as if you're talking about one of many insignificant facts during a work meeting at the embassy. But yesterday you said, I don't believe it. I shouted and shuddered, as if I'd been struck by electricity. Catherine's mother flinched. It's another one of your tricks. I don't know why you're doing this, but I'm sure that Katya couldn't do this to me. You ever thought that she did that exactly because of you? Maybe. Mrs. Winters had been behaving so strangely yesterday because she had already known that Catherine had left for the USA. No. I'm trying to drive away the thought that this woman's words could be true. Why so suddenly? Doesn't look like she's pregnant this time. I said it now in a much less confident tone. As far as I know, she didn't bother telling you last time either. Things are different now. I grit my teeth. Really? Why's that? But she told you. Her grandmother called me. Can I talk to this grandmother? Nikolai, don't you see you're in no position to demand anything? I don't understand why it would be a problem. Catherine said that she doesn't want to talk with anyone. Even with you. Mrs. Winter's only response was a sly smile. How very convenient. Nikolai, believe me, this entire situation is as unexpected to me as it is to you. And what if I don't believe you? Then you'll have to comfort yourself with pointless hope for something that can't happen. It won't be the first time. I parried without thinking. I just don't understand. What are you getting out of this? Has something happened to Catherine you don't want me to know? Why do you see conspiracies everywhere? Maybe because you work for the CIA and conspiracies are your job. You'd better be careful with what you say, for your own good. Or what? The question sounded daring, but I didn't feel that confident. Do you really not understand? Do you really think that by hiding the truth you're protecting Catherine from me? I already told you the entire truth. She responded coldly and glanced at the phone, as if she were expecting a call any minute. It's simpler for you without her, isn't it? Excuse me? Ms. Winters frowned. Without Catherine, you can give all your attention to matters of national security. For a moment, real anger flashed on her face, an exact expression that evokes instinctual fear as if you're facing a wild animal. However, Mrs. Winters quickly got a hold of herself and regained control over the situation. Are you trying to insult me? I'm just returning the favor. Instead of lashing out, why don't you feel happy that Catherine is well? Was it her who told you that she's well? Because just a couple days ago, things looked pretty bad. I can only envy your stubbornness. That is, your belief that my daughter loves you no matter what. This childish, naive confidence that love will overcome every obstacle. Do you really think that Catherine is such a simple person? I didn't really know that what she was implying, but was afraid to show her that. At least I believe that Catherine can decide for herself. More empty words. She threw her hands up in the air, scoffing wearily. Let's say she decides. You decide. And then what? You're going to take these decisions, sit down, and look at each other? You're denying even the possibility of it. At the same time, you don't seem to be very upset about her going to the USA. Cheryl Winters knit her brows, and it was enough to understand. She too makes mistakes. Nikolai, I promised to tell you if I had any news about Catherine. I did. I still want to talk to her. Is Catherine really with her grandmother? I don't see any reason why I can't talk to her on the phone. There are reasons. And they are? They are. She responded briefly and looked at the phone again. But I will ask her, and if Catherine wants to talk to you, we'll think of a way to organize it. Organize it? Jesus, it feels like I'm on some sort of talk show. Ms. Winters, it's not a satellite link from Asia to America, it's just a phone call. It's 1987 already, hello? Just give me your number, goddammit. Careful, Nikolai. Cheryl Winters was one of those women who didn't need to be physically strong, have a gun, or threaten their opponents. She wanted to inspire fear, she did. I just can't believe this is really happening, it's absurd. You're trying to tell me that white is black and black is white with a straight face. And you know it full well. Is this cynicism? Hypocrisy? Pardon me, my English vocabulary isn't that broad. It is cowardice, but only on your side. She suddenly replied in pretty good Russian. It's the inability to acknowledge that Catherine's life doesn't revolve around you. You say you love her, but is it really love? You've just persuaded yourself that you two should be together no matter what, even if it goes against what she wants. What if it wasn't Catherine, If it was any other girl, anything change for you? Nikolai, just answer this question to yourself. Do you love my daughter, or do you love your love for her? That is a fair point. These words hurt me deeply. I yet couldn't understand why, but I knew that there was some truth in them. So what? Because of that, I can't just talk to her now? No, you can't. Ms. Winters replied abruptly, and the phone finally rang. Excuse me, I need to take this. She grabbed the receiver and quickly said in Japanese, Please wait a moment. And she covered the receiver with her hand and looked at me. You'd better go. I suggest you think about what I said. Well, arguing with her would have been not only stupid, but rude. I walked out of the apartment and carefully closed the door. Yumitsu might still have been waiting for me at home, so I had no desire to return. I was pointlessly wandering the streets trying to figure out what had just happened. As much as I wanted everything said by Catherine's mother to be a lie, I couldn't totally exclude the possibility that she was telling the truth. Of course, things were different now from back then. We were older, and the circumstances had changed. Besides, Katya couldn't have been faking the intimacy I'd felt these past few days. Yeah, see, that's the thing, like... I don't believe it. Maybe I'm in denial like my boy Nikolai, but like after that rooftop moment, like there's no way she would just write her off with a letter like that. Like I can't believe it. Ms. Winters could throw in cliches about life experience all she wanted. It wouldn't change my feelings for Catherine. She just packed up and flew to the USA. Can you believe it? Yeah, also I feel like, yo, it's just too weird that her mom went from assuming that Nikolai kidnapped her to then be like, oh, she just packed up and moved to the US. Like, how would you not know about that? How would you, the fucking government agent who works for the fucking CIA, not be able to track down the fact that your daughter took a flight to the USA? Like, I understand maybe your daughter got a hold of one of your connections in some way, but like I feel like that's not very likely, and there would have been like a paper trail that led to a fucking airport. I don't see how Catherine could have gotten a plane out of Japan to the US without raising any alarms. Or once you look into it, all of a sudden, it's not something immediately known. I can't believe that. And I can't believe her breaking into Nikolai's house, not breaking in, but bursting into Nikolai's house like that, and like throwing accusations at him and being all pissed off was just an act. I can't believe that either. That it was just an act to try to throw him off of Catherine's trail. The fact that she had moved Catherine. Just yesterday she could at most dream about it. I kicked a soda can on the road that turned out to not be empty, flew like a shuttlecock, and doused a random man on the street in the sweet liquid. Hey! He shouted immediately. Sorry, I said, swallowing half the letters. How dare you! He started to sound off, but I straightened up and looked down at him. Want to eat this can? I walked away, leaving him to drip. I didn't have to be that rude. I felt ashamed and even offended at myself, but wrath and anger were boiling inside of me, not letting me focus. I had to relieve the tension as soon as possible before I would really start to go off at people. Bartender! Yup! The door chime gave a familiar ring, the bartender waving at me right away. Hey there! It was still quite early, so almost all the tables were empty. Any good news? I sighed heavily, sat on the chair at the counter. Pour me some beer. I need to calm down. Alright, this second. While the bartender was busy replacing an empty beer barrel, I was idly looking at the customers. To my surprise, I recognized Ellie among them. Wearing a leather outfit, all dolled up, she looked just like a rock star. We've got real fine personalities here. I jerked my head in their direction as the bartender put a big mug of cold beer in front of me. It happens. He shrugged phlegmatically. They sure love that word, don't they? With the club next door and all. You know each other? We've met. What kind of relationship do you have? The bartender scoffed, clearly implying something. We're about to find out. I walked to her table and asked, is this spot taken? Ellie tore herself away from the sheet with notes and lyrics in English and looked at me surprised. Do we know each other? I asked myself the same question. Ah! She exclaimed suddenly. You're... No. So you're... It appeared like she really couldn't remember, but looked extremely funny. The school bore, yes, that's me. But my name is Nick, actually. Not that people call me that often. I usually come by myself. Ah, yeah. She said disappointedly, as if she'd at least expect me to be the Prime Minister of Japan. So yeah, can I take the seat? If you want. Learning a new song? Or performing tonight. Didn't come last time, by the way. So the episode we had a moment ago was pure performance. Were you waiting for me? Most assuredly. I hope you won't come to this. I hope you won't come to this one either. What playing to? Really? Ellie rounded her eyes, seemingly disappointed. But if you invite me and take me to a party afterwards, I'll think about it. You wish. She scoffed and turned away. You're preparing pretty early. That's because first we need to do the sound check, then prepare mentally, get ready. You're talking about it like it's a real job. If you aren't serious about music, why play at all? I don't know. I don't play. Yeah, right. She smirked. I didn't know whether Ellie was trying to mock me or if it had just happened accidentally, but she did it nearly as well as Catherine could. You know what? I've gotten enough shit from your family to have to take more from you personally. You should be a little less judgmental, Ojasama. Did I say something wrong? And indeed. No, sorry. I sighed, lowered my eyes, took a big gulp of beer. What's the occasion? The occasion for what? Ellie nodded at the mug. Depression. I instinctively pushed it away, then caught myself. What was the point of feeling ashamed now? Why did you start talking about my family? Never mind that, just a slip of the tongue. Well, keep going since you started. I didn't start anything, just picked the wrong words. Is that what I meant to say? What was it then? Ellie wouldn't get off my back. Seemed like a game for her more than anything. There are things that don't concern even a bad-mannered little Ojo-sama. Drop the other shoe already. Plop. That's why you're such a bore. You can't behave yourself at all. Is everyone who doesn't report to you on your first demand a bore to you? Would you like it if someone started talking to you about your family and stopped halfway? I don't have a family. Everyone has a family. I don't. My parents died in a car accident and my other relatives are in the USSR. So how are you all alone here? She suddenly asked compassionately and even leaned towards me. This conversation began to tire me, mostly because Ellie was trying to stick her nose into things that had nothing to do with her. Whatever I said or didn't doesn't matter. Some people can dress themselves without servants. I trust myself. Her face flushed with embarrassment and indignation, becoming even prettier. Couldn't help but notice that Kobayashi Ellie wasn't just an ordinary nice-looking girl from a rich family who had access to the best cosmetic products and specialists, but a real beauty, one someone could turn into, even with 100 layers of makeup. I don't believe you. Prove it. What? You. See, doesn't feel nice when people try to get you with stupid stuff. She pouted in response, already starting to look like a spoiled child. Go away already. You're annoying me. She grabbed a sheet from the table and brought it almost to the tip of her nose, thus creating a barrier between us. As you wish, milady. I stood up slowly, bowed, took my empty mug, and walked to the counter. Ouch, Golia. Looks like. Bartender made a silly pause, and I immediately realized what would follow. Your goose is cooked. If bad jokes could kill, you would be the cruelest serial murderer in the history of Japan. Put it on my tab. I said, and already in the doorway, heard the bartender's deep voice. On the house.